AK at Nixlab Tech. This is my first video, so go easy on me. I want to do a series on Proxmox. I've written about that on my Nixlab Tech site. And the first video is going to show the installation process. This is going to show only the installation process from you booting the system until it's ready to go. So I do this in VirtualBox because it's really easy to record. So instead of me going around with a camcorder or webcam or whatever and trying to get a decent shot of my screen, I just record the screen. I'm going to install Proxmox onto physical machines. Nothing fancy, just old hardware that I have laying around for test. This way I don't have to mess with my production environment. So let's just get going. I've set up the server in VirtualBox. The memory and stuff like that is not really representative. I've put up a gig of memory and 8 gigabytes of storage. That doesn't necessarily mean you should. Just for playing around with it could work, but I would on Proxmox or for virtualization at all, even if it's VMware or whatever it is, I would recommend pushing a lot of memory to the box. Say nothing less than 8 gigabytes of memory, I would say. But it depends on what you're going to use it for. I'm running a production environment. I'm putting up a new server for almost everything I do. I boot new servers for when I'm doing programming and making websites and stuff like that. I boot a new server per project. That's not really necessary. For my production, I have 2 web servers in failover, so it's not that it has to be 1 server per project, but sometimes it can be good because you need to resolve dependencies and stuff like that. And if you just have a production web server, you don't want to go on and install a lot of stuff that you're not going to use later. So that's why I do it like that. I have a contained system. Nowadays I use a lot of Docker containers to do the same. We can do a video on that later if people want it. But this is the Proxmox installation video, so let's do it, shall we? And everything's set up, so I just push start here and it should boot up the CD if I've done anything right. Yep. So this is the first thing you see. This is the Proxmox Virtual Environment install prompt. The menu that you get when you boot the CD, you get install Proxmox Virtual Environment, and you get install Proxmox Virtual Environment in debug mode. I don't really see why you would do that, but it might, if you have difficult RAID controllers and stuff like that, you maybe can find out by running in debug mode if the normal install doesn't work for you. But nowadays, a lot of the RAID controllers are supported in Linux, most of them, I think, so that shouldn't be a real problem. You can test your memory like you can on, I think that's just a memtest at 86, like on a lot of distributions nowadays. Proxmox is based on Debian, so it's just another Linux distribution. It just comes packaged with the Proxmox system. You can install it manually as well on an existing Debian host or existing whatever host, I guess. But yeah, this is packaged with Debian, so I'll just push install here, and it will do the same thing it does always when you try to install Linux. If you've done it before, you'll recognize these screens, detecting hardware and stuff like that. The same as if you would install Ubuntu, basically. So we get the end user license agreement. I've read this before. I don't think it's not so nothing new here, so I'll just agree to it. So you can set up your hard drives. Really, unless I've done configuration and made RAID arrays in hardware RAID, I don't really pay attention to this at all. I just install it on the first disk. You have a few options, and I guess you can do it manually, but this is so good nowadays anyways. If you have more hard drives, you want to save them and extend your logical volumes later. So I'll just push next. You have to type in your country. I'll do Norway as I'm in Norway, and my time zone and keyboard layout is automatically filled out, and I do next again, and I have to do enter a password for root. I'll just do Proxmox 123 and root at proxmoxtest.no. Next, and we have to do our host name and a statical IP address. I'm not really sure if I like the fact that you have to type in a statical IP address, because when you install a new server, it's at least at home when I make a new Proxmox virtual server, I'll just let it get the first IP, and I'll grab the MAC address and give it a statical lease, a reservation in the DHCP. So I have quite a large chunk of my network is not handled by the DHCP server at all. It's just statical entries. So we have to do a host name. We'll do PVE 01.proxmoxtest.no and just let the IP address be as it is. Or we could change it. We could say 55. Yeah, and change the gateway as well. And DNS server. Do next. And it's creating the file systems and extracting the files it needs for installing and stuff like that. So this is fairly quick actually. Even quicker on a server, because this is not really a high-end server I've created in my VirtualBox here. So just like any other Linux has become now, it's just a matter of boot the CD or USB stick or whatever you prefer and hit next, finished. And that's... Installing Linux has become easier than installing Windows. I like that. So let's just see what happens. So it's installing the bootloader, and we can reboot it. And then I have to remove the CD. We just boot it as usual. Let's see what comes up. Yeah, it now says that you can find the web interface at 192.168.3.55, the IP address we configured. I'm not really sure if that's going to work, but we can try it. I'll just cut it out if it doesn't. https://192.168.3.55:6, and it does. And of course you don't have a real certificate, so you have to just agree to that. Username is root always, and the password was Proxmox123, and we can log in. and you'll get you can subscribe or you can leave it be. I do it for production service. It's just push OK, and here's your new Proxmox. Congratulations. I'll make a few new videos as soon as I can, hopefully within a couple of days. So thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you found this useful. Thank you.